Hello, I'm Joseph, and today I want to talk to you about pitch and tone of voice. Now you might be thinking, well, Joseph has finally lost his mind. He's gone completely nuts because he's talking to me about music and not about language. Well, that's not true, you'll be pleased to know. I'm still perfectly sane. Pitch and tone are two things which are very important when you're speaking. The reason why they're very important is because when you use them, immediately you're making someone feel comfortable. If you don't make someone feel comfortable, then of course they're going to be afraid of you, or they're going to think that you're acting strangely. This is very important for English people who don't use their body in a way to communicate. Everything is channeled through words. Let me give you an example. One day a man was drowning in the sea, and walking along the harbour was another man. And the man shouted, "Help! Help! I'm drowning! Somebody help me!" And the man continued to walk, as if he was ignoring him. And the other man, he shouted again, help me, I'm drowning in the water." But still, the other man, he didn't turn around. So the man in the water, he had an idea. So he shouted again, but rather than shout, "Help, help," in a very emotional way this time, he said, "Oh, excuse me, would you mind helping me? I appear to be having a spot of a bother and a difficulty." And at that moment, the other man turned around and said, "Oh, yes, of course," and immediately obliged him and helped him out of the water. These are just a few little things which are very strange and peculiar in English culture. So, getting back to a pitch and tone. It's very important when you're reading something, especially in public, that you start on one note and you end on a lower one. Now let me give you an example. The air was colder on the way home. The air was colder on the way home. Now you can see, as I was moving towards the end of that sentence, I was getting lower. I started on one note and I went lower, as I am at the moment. When dinner was ready, Emma turned out the lights. When dinner was ready, Emma turned out the lights. Now this is a general rule. If you're reading a short sentence, or even a sentence which is broken up into parts, you're going to start at one particular note and you're going to end in a lower one. There are times, however, for example when asking a question, that your tone would go up instead of down. For example, was it a special dinner? What did you say his name was? What was his name? I didn't hear his name. What was it? Now, I didn't hear his name. What was it? That's a bit of an exception, that last one, because it went up and then it went down. But generally speaking, where a question is involved, you can hear the tone going up, and where it's a general sentence, the tone will be going down, like the way I'm speaking to you now. Another very important part to get the pitch right is the breathing, especially in a long sentence. Let me give you an example. The air was colder on the way home, and the sky was orange at the edge and pale in the middle. Now, if I read that one more time, notice where I took a breath. The air was colder on the way home, and the sky was orange at the edge and pale in the middle. Now, I took 2 breaths there. The air was colder on the way home. Then there's a comma. So I took a breath there. And the sky was orange at the edges. And I took a breath there because that's also a break in the sentence because the word and comes next. So the air was colder on the way home. And the sky was orange at the edges and pale in the middle. So you can see my pitch and tone remain the same, but I take the proper breaths at the parts of the sentence where I can. Okay, so in this particular example, there are 3 parts to the sentence. There's a comma, which shows me the first part. There's the word and, which shows me the next part. So it's broken into 3. One separated by a comma, one by the word and, which gives me ample opportunity to take my breath. Listen to how some examples of pitch can give a different meaning to the sentence. Okay, so this one, for example, the air was colder on the way home. The air was colder on the way home? So you can see one is a shock and surprise of not believing what was being said, and the other one was purely a statement. The air was what? Colder on the way home? The air was colder on the way home. The air was colder on the way home. Have a think about the differences in meaning of those 3. Well, that's all for now. I hope you've enjoyed this short lesson. Thank you, and goodbye.